problems and parental problems, and Brad was coming out telling you how it was.
I'll do anything I can the wrong way.
Sublime's frontman, Brad Knoll, was living the life he wrote about. By '93, the 25-year-old was scoring heroin on the streets of Long Beach.
So shoot it up, it just don't matter.
We were partying, pretty much out of control, you know? I mean, drinking like booze every day. Brad was definitely, you know, on hard drugs.
Sublime's reckless reputation scared more than a few record labels away. But in the fall of '93, they won an ally at Gasoline Alley, a boutique label owned by MCA Records.
I'd already started telling the label, like, look, you know, I want to sign this band, and this is a band that's going to musically break through.
In October of '93, John Phillips convinced an executive at Gasoline Alley to meet with Sublime to discuss a possible deal.
Sublime came in with their crew and their dogs and, you know, like, took over.
We'd been drinking, you know, we were going to celebrate, you know. We're already thinking, we're going to get signed.
Brad thought he was going to walk in and sign a deal in one day and walk with 30G and he'd be happy. It's like, hey, bro, it don't work like that.
The band says they waited for hours, but the executive was too busy to meet them. So drunk and frustrated, they snuck into his office to take their revenge.
Lou Dog kind of needed to use the restroom, and he kind of took a dumper in the guy's office.
Good boy. We drive off, just dying of laughter, you know, crying.
All hell broke loose. It's like, the deal's done. I don't ever want to do this, that, and another thing.
He didn't really take a liking to that too much. You know, he's kind of pissed off.
But 9 months later, Gasoline Alley reconsidered and signed Sublime to a 6-record deal.
It doesn't matter what they did. Their music was good enough where they could actually break through and not have to play the game, you know, and they were definitely doing it on their own terms.
At the time, Brad had more than a record deal to celebrate. By early '94, he had fallen deeply in love with his friend Troy Dendecker.
When you grab a hold of me, you tell me that I'll never be set free.
It's like, where have you been my whole life? Oh my God, and we just totally got along and we needed each other.
More than a girlfriend, Troy was Brad's caretaker, standing by him when his drug usage pushed others away.
I just loved him with unconditional love, no matter what. And I was going to stand by his side and just try and be understanding. I wasn't trying to really tell him what to do or how to do it. I was just there for him.
Brad had tried repeatedly to get off heroin, at least 10 times over 5 years. But each time, rehab would lead to relapse.
He tried really hard. I mean, he did go through rehab several times. We paid for, I don't know how many rehabs we paid. He'd stay 2 or 3 days and then he'd walk out.
In the fall of '94, Brad said he was determined to kick heroin on his own. He asked his father and stepmother to watch over him and help him through the agonizing withdrawal.
He lasted 2 days, and he tried to leave the house, steal the car, and so I actually physically fought him on the stairs.
My wife had to knee him in his most vulnerable spot to stop him.
I hit him in the balls and he went down hard, and then I just grabbed him by his collar and I drug him up the stairs.
A couple hours later, he was going out the door, and I put him up against the wall. I said, "You're not going." And he said, "Dad, there's no use." He said, "If it's not now, it's going to be some other time. You know, you just can't stop it."
And that night, Jim said to me, "You better let this kid go because we're not going to have him that long."
Soon, Brad's struggle to get clean would take on even greater urgency. In October of '94, his girlfriend, Troy, learned that she was pregnant.
He was still abusing heroin, and it was scary for me. I really wasn't ready. I was kind of freaked out, you know, especially because of where we were in our lives. We didn't have money. I mean, the band wasn't doing really well.
But the band's fortunes were about to change. In January of '95, the influential Los Angeles radio station KROQ added Sublime's song Date Rape to its playlist.
Bam, it goes on the radio. My whole office is like, let's call, request, request, request. 2 hours, 3 hours later, the phones were lighting up so much, we didn't have to call.
It was my first time I ever shot a video for anything, and I thought it was pretty fun. We all got so butt-housed.
That's when things got out of control.
The first week after K-Rock played Date Rape, I got a call from every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every promoter looking to book the band. Because as soon as you have a song playing on K-Rock, you're worth something to them.
We've got a #1 song on K-Rock, and from there, the band gets its first real legitimate tour.
In June of '95, the band rolled into K-Rock's annual Weenie Roast, and in typical Sublime fashion, they immediately set about alienating their one ally in the radio industry.
We all have weenies, but we haven't eaten.
We're just a bunch of weenies. We're just a bunch of big weenies.
We were just burning bridges, big time. It was fun, though.
Joined by fellow Orange County rocker Gwen Stefani, Sublime hit the stage with a vengeance, intent on causing as much mayhem as possible.
The station, as I recall, gives us like 10 backstage passes. I mean, it just wasn't sufficient.
They always have an entourage of about 4 billion people.
We had a friend with a computer and a printer, and we printed up some passes.
So Sublime gave out 300 laminates to all of their friends. So all of Long Beach was backstage. K-Rock was freaking out.
There's only a finite number of people that can be backstage without the fire marshal coming in and clearing everybody out and basically shutting down the show. It's not good.
And all the people they hang out with, hi you guys, are crazy, you know what I mean? Like, just wild, like, just take over.
Sublime's outrageous antics in front of the hometown crowd only made them more popular in Southern California.
They just wanted to play their music, and while they weren't playing, they were going to piss everyone off, irritate everyone, and they were like a bunch of kids in a candy store running around, you know, doing whatever they wanted.
But soon, Brad Knoll would be forced to grow up.
Hey, you guys want to say hi to my girlfriend, Troy? She's having my baby in like 3 days.
She's having my baby!
It's going to be a boy. Yeah, say hi. Hi, Troy.
He's like, I'm going to be a daddy. He was so proud. He wanted Jacob so badly.
Honey bear, I gotta go, all right?
He couldn't have been happier, and of course I couldn't have been happier either. That it hopefully would be something that he could pin his emotions on, and that would help him deal with his addiction.
On June 25th, 1995, Troy gave birth to a baby boy they named Jacob.
Bradley couldn't wait to teach Jacob everything. He wanted to teach him surfing and music and snowboarding and get him his own little Dalmatian, and that was his little guy.
You know, he had a sparkle in his eye that I hadn't seen in a long time.
I remember him playing his guitar and having Jake on the bed, and he would sit on the bed and play to him. He loved it.
I remember Brad being like fat, healthy, and holding his kid in his arms, and he told me, now that I have a kid, man, I gotta sort of straighten up, and I'm gonna do it for my kid. I'm happy.